Hello, Genevieve. It's great to talk with you again. Today, I want to talk to you about Tinder because I don't know if you realize this, but this year we're celebrating, well, I don't know if celebrating is the right word, but we're recognizing 10 years of Tinder.
I
Um,
know. That's insane, isn't it? It really
right?
is.
It's crazy to me because it feels like Tinder has been around forever, but we'll get into that later. I wanted to start by asking you your perspective on the influence of Tinder, because you've been a leader in the dating industry for a while now. And I want to know, with your experience working with singles, have you observed a shift with the rise of popularity with Tinder? Is it changing the way we date?
Totally. And I'd actually say it's very unhealthy, the rise of Tinder. And I do encourage clients to come off of Tinder in particular as a dating app, because it is known as the hookup dating app. It is known for people who want casual relationships or just want to explore dating. And it's not really a site it's a fun site rather than one that you go to if you want a serious, long-lasting relationship.
Right. It's interesting because Tinder was developed with gaming mentality. They hired some expert gamers to join their algorithm team,
Yeah,
and they intentionally made this app very addictive. So you swipe
totally.
right constantly, and it sort of commodifies dating in a way. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 1,000,000%. It's one of those things where we've seen how addictive dating has become. And we've seen that dating apps create this commodity attitude when it comes to dating, almost as if let's just go to Amazon and order the next thing that we want. And it's not healthy. People become addicted to the next swipe and trying to get as many likes as possible. I've done radio programs where people were calling in to see who's had the most likes in the
Oh,
quickest amount of time. And when I did an experiment with the BBC many years ago, they put me on Tinder for one of the research projects, and I think it was like over 1,000 likes in the first, less than 24 hours. And it becomes very overwhelming. It also becomes you want to kind of see, well, who's liking me, and who, and instead of focusing on the actual person that you want to be with, what you're doing is you're focusing on the quantity of hits rather than the quality. So you're perfectly right when you say it's gamification at its best. It's not the reality of dating. It's not healthy to create relationships. It's not setting a foundation to create a healthy relationship. It's encouraging you to stay on the app and to be addicted to the app, because a lot of these apps get paid by advertising and the number of people that they have, even if you're on there for free and you're not contributing financially to the app. The advertising and the revenue streams that are made to keep people engaged, and the engagement is why they add in that gamification to keep people addicted and on there.
yeah, and it's obviously working.
Well, I
Um,
think it's losing its appeal. I read actually today some statistics to say for the first time ever, Tinder's users are declining. So I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that once you've been on there for a while and you realize you're not going to get what you want from it, unfortunately. And we know since COVID, the rise of hookup has just completely depleted as well. People aren't going in for a hookup culture. That's gone. Those days are gone. Yes, it still happens. I'm not going to deny there are people out there that's all they want, but there are more relevant specific sites which are very open to that type of way of meeting and engaging with people. So yeah, I think things are changing and shifting. We've seen it, and we're seeing even more of it at the moment.
Speaking of the potential downfall of Tinder, I wonder if there's a specific documentary that might have some impact on that, which would be The Tinder Swindler, which just came out this year. And,
Yeah.
we've known about catfishing as a concept for years, ever since Facebook's conception. But The Tinder Swindler seemed to hit a different note because it was catfishing, but it really was his photo, but he was this entirely different person. And he found all of his victims through Tinder and continued to perpetuate his cycle of abuse. So, what would you say, is that opening people's eyes? Are people scared to date online now?
I think he's just one of many, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What we do know is online, there's a lot of predatory behavior. There's a lot of behavior that is unhealthy. It's not real. There's a lot of scammers online. It's a playground. It's an absolute online is a playground for vulnerable people who are wanting love, and people prey on them for wanting love. A show I did a couple of years ago for ITV, actually, here in the UK, was all about scammers. And when I worked with the researchers and I was supporting some of the clients who'd been scammed, the majority of them have been scammed for over £15,000, which is about $18,000, which is huge. And these are intelligent. The majority of them are intelligent, smart, bright people who just wanted love. And people will always be preyed upon, whether it's emotional, financial, psychological, even sexual. And I'm talking about men as well as women. It's not just women that get scammed. It's men too. They see someone pretty, they think, wow, she's after me. Unfortunately, she probably happens to be he and is talking to about one of hundreds of people. So there are, I think that the last statistics are, I think 45% of people are genuine online, but that's a very small percentage. It's the minority, not the majority. And then when you work out geographically where those 45% are and age range, and you pull it down, and it's actually a very small percentage that are free and available within your range. And what we're seeing is there are a lot more men online than there are women. A lot of women are coming off online dating because they feel vulnerable, they're anxious, and they're losing trust and faith in the online process. And this is something we hear every day when it comes to matchmaking. Why are you using our service? I don't feel safe online, or I'm too scared to go online, or I've had a bad experience online.
Yeah. Speaking of privacy, there's another threat that most people don't think about, but it's very real. It's the way that many of these companies collect personal information, and they don't disclose this, or at least not obviously unless you read the fine print. So I was looking at this statistic, 67% of dating apps collect personal information online and share it to sell it to third parties. And Badu and Her were the worst of these.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
There's
interesting.
only like 1, 2 that don't do this out of like the entire collection of dating apps.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've seen it. I've been to conferences, for many years with the online industry. And when I hear about the practices they use to keep people engaged with bots and with people pretending to be other people, to keep the engagement going, there's a lot of negativity when it comes to online. It seems to be what I would class as, it's a playground. It really is a playground. Yeah, there's a small percentage of people that meet online, but you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to be really resilient, ask the right questions, and have enough hours in the day to invest in that process. And lots of people say to us as matchmakers, I want to come to you and I want that ready-made person. That's done us out of the online industry. They feel that everyone is there for them, yet there's probably less than 1 to 2% of people that could be a viable potential partner for them online. So, but what it does is it skews, they see hundreds and thousands of people and they think there's lots of people available to them. They think that pool is enormous. And the reality is we know that pool isn't. Once you narrow down values and what you're looking for and what's going to be right for you and energetic connections, those are things that people can't foresee online. And people always sell themselves at at their best possible. Yeah, they'll more often people, it's my biggest bugbear is when I hear that people have put photos up and I've always said to clients, if you're online, do a video call so that you see you're actually meeting the person whose photo. And so many people, we hear it from clients every day, oh, I thought, wow, this person's beautiful or really handsome and everything I want, and then I look at the photo and then you do a video call and it was clear the photo was taken 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, and 6 foot turns out to be 5'6". And, all of these things that people exaggerate. I wouldn't say they blatantly lie, although they do. I'd say they exaggerate and bend the truth when it comes to online. It's their shop window. So they want this need to have a lot of attention and have thousands of competitive hits. People are putting their best photos up, most of them very old, and putting information up there that they think is going to entice the right person in, but it's not a true reflection of who someone is. And when they meet, it's a false promise for both of them. It's a waste of time and energy.
I totally agree. I feel that Tinder sets up very false ideals of love, including what you were talking about, this, because we're always going to post, the filtered photos, maybe a little Photoshop, like, that's your first impression. So it's just setting you up for disappointment. But then it's also what you were saying, this paradox of choice where you have it seemingly endless swipes, and it seems overwhelming that, oh, will I pick the right person? I was saying earlier, it seems like Tinder has been around forever, because when I was entering the dating scene around 16 to 17, and definitely in college, everyone was talking about Tinder. And I think about how my generation, this is their kind of introduction into dating, and this is the norm for us,
Yeah.
And how does that skew us for the future? Does this set us up for failure? What can
Totally. It's that paradigm of choice. It's giving you too much, but it's also doing the same for people later on in life. Sort of people sort of my end, the 50s, the grannies and the grandparents, we're the other side of it, when people are coming in having not experienced online dating, and not, a lot of our clients go into it with their eyes closed, not realizing the perils of dating, and get caught out. So there's both sides. There's, for young people are not taught to, well, none of us are taught how to date. We're not taught how to have relationships. We're not taught how to date. We don't even know our own values most of the time, unless you work with a dating coach who's going to sit down and go, right, let's look at what you really need and want that's going to be healthy for you. So these are all things that are very, very difficult, actually. And you're trying to navigate these waters more often than not with a broken heart. It's a bit like reality TV. People say to me, oh, isn't that like real life? And I say, no. And in fact, what it's doing is it's setting people up to fail, especially young people who think that's what a relationship is: high drama, high emotion, a lot of volatility. And actually, we know from our experiences in this industry, that type of relationship is highly toxic, doesn't last, and is very damaging. And then we have to pick up the pieces as coaches to support people, to give them their confidence and realign expectations and build them back up to be resilient enough to date again and feel confident enough to date again. So I think there's a lot of false expectations and false reality because of online dating, which that we're doing a lot of damage limitation coaching right now with people who have had bad experiences and wouldn't recognize the right person if they were stood in front of them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Speaking of coaching, what would you recommend to someone as a coach who wants to quit dating apps and start a new era of their dating journey? What would you recommend?
Go and detox for a little while. Just detox, get a sense of who you are, what's important to you. Don't go to friends and family for advice. I know that sounds really mean, but unfortunately, friends and family will always project onto you their experiences, other people's experiences, what they've heard and seen in the media. They'll all tell you that you're wonderful, that you look great, that you don't have to do anything, just be yourself. But sometimes we do have to do some work on ourselves, especially if we've been hurt, if we've been let down, if we've gone through something that's particularly traumatic. We do need to get ourselves in the right headspace. And hence, that's why coaching is probably the fast track to getting yourself ready and willing, able, with the right expectations to date, so that you do recognize the right person when you're introduced to them.
I agree. And if you do coaching and you feel you're back, ready to get back out there, would you go back on dating sites, or do you think there's a better method for dating?
Well, I'm obviously going to say matchmaking. Obviously.
Good question.
I mean, matchmaking is a fast track way to meet people who are vetted, who are genuinely single, who have invested emotionally, financially, and psychologically in the process. So you're already getting people who, if you went online and you met someone blind online, to understand and unravel all of this, it's 3 months roughly of dating someone before you realize, are they where you need them to be before everything unravels. So it's a way of not wasting and not going back to square one. It's a bit like a game of snakes and ladders. Go up a few ladders and then you hit and kiss a snake at the top and you're back to square one again. And that's that sort of pattern when it comes to dating online. Is very much like a game of snakes and ladders. You've got these highs, but you've got some really big lows, which is why a lot of people get dating fatigue. We hear about it all the time. It's a psychological condition now, is dating fatigue, purely because of online dating.
So what advantages does matchmaking have over online dating?
Well, you know that people are genuine. You know that they're wanting the same things. And sometimes what's happening is you don't know what you really want. We know when people come to us, they have this tick list. And the one thing I always want to say to people is, I just want you to get rid of that tick list. Just get rid of it. Have an open mind, an open heart, and meet people that we feel energetically are going to connect with you and have a lovely time with you. More often than not, you're meeting as strangers the first time. The second time, get to know them a little bit more, but they're still in that stranger stroke acquaintance zone. Third time, friends. And then from there, you can kind of think, actually, do you know what? I'm curious to unravel more and know more about you. So I'm going to stay in this a little bit longer. And that's what we encourage. We know long-term relationships start with beautiful friendships. And that's our job, is to introduce you to people where you've got like-minded values. One of the things we always say is get off that superficial ladder of height, job, location, car, all of those things that are fluid and can change, and get down to the reality of what makes your heart tick, what makes it beat faster, what are the things that are going to keep you happy long term in a relationship. It's not a car somebody drives. It's not whether someone is an inch taller or shorter than you think they're going to be. It's that soulful connection that it's something you can't predict. It is unpredictable. But what we're doing is we're giving you opportunities to meet people that you would never normally meet, that your values are aligned, your life goals are aligned. So we look deeper, and that we know is what works long term when it comes to healthy, happy relationships.
Yeah, I agree. That was very well put. Well, thank you, Genevieve. I really feel like we understand the value of matchmaking, and it is obviously the better choice nowadays, despite the prevalence of online dating. So, thank you. And I think that will conclude our conversation.
Thank you, Molly.